Alright folks, welcome back everyone. 皆さんお帰りなさい。今日は4日目です。It is day 300 it is day 4 of Bunpro. Alright, we just hop right in. Nothing. This is gonna be a chill day. Got this little thing here. I think this is gonna happen. This can possibly happen every 4 or 5 days where there's gonna be a past midnight kind of drill. So we'll see how that works out. Let's get into our 5 and 20. I think we're gonna try to stick with 5 and 20 until we move into N4, probably. I might actually lower down the vocabulary thing. Don't know yet. We're keeping solid for a month. See where things go before we adjust, do some major volume adjustment. Yesterday was like the big day when I had Wanikani lessons with the Hanzu Hero lessons, and this could be like stopover. So still filling it out, how much I want to slow down, right? Alright, so let's get into it. Our 5 grammar things today. Do? Okay, the dictionary form. And they're going over ichidan verbs. Short form is often called casual form because it's used in casual speech or casual language, or plain form. Independent words. Their examples were taberu, miru, and neru. Neru, miru, taberu. Taberu. Let's see. Do verbs are verbs that have only one possible conjugation pattern. Okay. This pattern simply involves they decide to use the word conjugation here. This pattern simply involves the replacement of do with another construction depending on the tense of the verb, past, negative, etc. This conjugation pattern that only includes do is where the Japanese name ichidan, right, ichidan, one level, comes from. Or one section, one part of the word.
生徒が答える。
生徒が答える。生徒. Oh, interesting. I wonder how frequently this is used compared to 学生. Mm-hmm.
生徒が答えます。
Yep. So contrasting the formal and the plain, or the polite and the plain.
私が閉める。
Right. It is implied, of course, despite no object being stated, because this is transitive, right? So there's an object implied.
私が閉めます。
Right. Again, this is the contrast between plain and polite, or the comparison. In these examples, we can see that do is removed from the verb to create the polite mas form. The do form of the verb is often called plain, casual, or short form, depending on the source book. All do verbs end in the kana do. There are no exceptions to this rule. Caution: while all do verbs end in do, not all verbs that end in do are do verbs. Indeed. These verbs can be identified by the do changing rather than being removed when conjugated. Right. So, それも取る. Right. それも取る. I will take that too, and then there's それも取ります. So, not as the do in 取るbecomes the di. Right, in torimasu, we can determine imi that is not a do verb, but actually a u. Yeah, because the u part gets conjugated into ri. And what do we have associated with this stuff? Non-past, right? Do past, do negative, do. Interesting. Right? Linking. And do pass repairs. How many are? Oh, so that's how you expand, huh? Okay. Oh, they even do some Wikipedia commons. All right. This one's fine. Ichidan. We got u verbs right away. So we got the godans, right? A bunch of these. Kuwaru, utau, ashik. Oh, what you call it? Okuru, right? Okuru, hanasu, da, utsu. Oh yeah, utsu. Utsu, shinu, shinu special. Oh, they're using. Oh, I see. Sabu, yasamu. Yeah, yasumu. Sorry, yasumu and oyogu. They're just using an example of each of the godan going down. Actually, most of them, if not all of them, except for, no, the irregulars are always the irregulars. I'm guessing that's the next grammar point. There might be separate grammar points for all the irregulars. About u verbs, or godan verbs. Include all the verbs in Japanese that end in u sounds, including some of the verbs that end in du, right? Some. These verbs are called godan. 5-level verbs in Japanese due to their conjugation using all 5 of the different sounds in the same column, right? That their base comes from.
私はパンクも聞く。
パンク。パンクも聞く。Right.
学生たちは先生の話も聞きます。
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Sensei no hanashi mo. So like it's like listening to what the teacher's like speech, but it's the teacher, whatever the teacher is saying, right? It's just kind of truncated in the less literal. When you're listening to teacher, it's implied that it's whatever the teacher is saying. As we can see here, the ku in ku changes to ki when conjugated to the polite form. Yeah. Right. Wait. Yeah, kikimasu, that's right. All the other sounds in the K column will be used with all the other sounds in the K column will be used with Q, depending on the conjugation. This is the same for all the U. Right. Kikanai, itai, ku, keru, o. Okay. Okay. Yes. Here we can see the kiku using all the different K, right? K column sounds in various conjugations. It's interesting that they call it the K column. I think of them as rows and columns. I did remember learning the Japanese and Chinese for column, and it's actually kind of both. A lot of times rows and columns are somewhat implied by context, so calling it the K column, I can kind of see why that might be a thing. To me, it's a row. It's the K row. It's the A columns. So e, I, U, E, O are the columns. And then all the initials are the rows. So it'd be the K row. Caution, just like with do verbs, the base form of the verb may be called plain form, casual form, or short form, depending on the source material. Okay. They just want to remind you again. And then we have the same associated things, which I think they go in that order. Like, if these related things, they try to make it in order, I feel. Oh no, this is just kidding. We got the or wo. I always refer to this as wo when it's standing alone. Okay, case marking again, right? Like the other ones, like wa and ga. In Japanese, wo is a particle that marks the object of an action. This means that the subject, the person or thing performing an action, is performing that action with the object being the goal target of the action. Yeah, in most cases, whenever wo is attached to whatever is attached to, will not actually be doing anything. It's being acted upon. Will instead have something being done to it. Yeah, being acted upon.
ラーメンを食べる。
ラーメンを食べる. So 食べる ramen is honestly that's when I read the English, I just think of it as 食べる ramen, like the reverse. But when I'm reading in Japanese, I would read it in the other direction. It's kind of a weird thing, but if you're going the other direction, that's kind of how I view it too. So if I were thinking in Japanese at the moment, to get the English phrase, I would reverse these, reverse the relationship. Not really a preference thing. It's kind of like a practice and exercise. I don't know if people do this, but generally speaking, I like to put my shoes in the position and then go in the other direction. So in English, if I had to look at this and read in English, then I would read ramen wo taberu. Ramen wo taberu. Right? So in English, when I'm saying like, oh, I need to read this in Japanese, I would then say ramen wo taberu. But if I'm reading the Japanese and I need to translate to English, I would read it as taberu wo ramen.
歌を歌います。
Oh, 歌います. Okay. They gave an example of polite form and plain form. In these sentences, I like that they keep going back and forth. In these sentences, wo is marking the thing that is having an action performed on it, right? This is how the Japanese language views the object. However, unlike English, an object can also be placed in which an action is performed through. However, unlike English, okay, so this is talking about Japanese. I'm not the greatest on this type of phrasing, but however, and then unlike English, so Japanese, an object can also be placed in which an action is performed through if the goal of the action is based in that location itself. Yes. So like you can walk through the park, right?
公園を歩く。
Right. 公園を歩く. Unlike English. An object can also be placed in which an action is performed through. The park is the object that walking is being performed through. I'm not sure, like I'm having a hard time understanding how that's unlike English. Like, what I mean is, it's not like this doesn't exist interpretively in English, like for me anyways, like to look through the box, right? To look through the box. The box is an object. But they chose the location here, so locations might not necessarily look like objects, I guess, unlike English. But they're I don't know. It feels like they're choosing specific cases as opposed to confirming that other cases exist. Like when you examine a box, you can be examining through the box, like throughout the box or around the box.
建物の中を走る。
建物の中を走る. Oh, run through the center of the building. Or run through the building. Yeah. Run throughout the building. The inside of the building is the object that's running is being performed through. Yeah. Which a building is still an object. So it's kind of tough for me to understand this statement. I guess they might be referring to like a literal object as opposed to like a grammatical object, because a location is an object to me. It's kind of weird to think about it. Maybe it's more of an English only thing to think that the park is not an object. Or the building, inside the building is not an object, like a space is not an object. It has to be like an apple or a box, something that's contained. That's interesting. I haven't really thought of it that way. I have often thought of English, like this type of structure, in grammatical sense as well. In these sentences, well is marking the place through which the action is taking place. I mean, that's fair. Because it's not like it doesn't have a thing it's acting on. And I kind of get it. But when you're walking through a park, you're acting on the park as well. Like walking through the park is interacting with the park. So it's interesting where there's this distinction. Is marking the place through which the action is taking place. This is before learning Japanese and Chinese. I often like, you're walking through the mall, you're operating in the mall. The mall is the object. But I'm not sure what they call it in English then. When it says it's unlike English, I wonder what they call this. Like walking through the park, I guess, would be considered a prepositional phrase, through the park. So the act of walking and then through the park would be then more like de, which is going to come up later. Like in what manner or path are you walking is closer to the way English is, where hi, hey, I just walked through the park, and through the park is a separate thing. So maybe what they're going to do now is they're going to distinguish like koen e, right? Koen e, or like kuruma de, like the act, the means of modifying the verb is why they're choosing to word this way. Possibly. We'll see if it comes up. In these sentences, well is marking, yeah, right. We read this. Ni, yeah, okay. So there is ni. I'm enga, right? Enga for the subject matter. But it's interesting. The other thing I would have thought about was de. But ni is probably why they're wording it this way. Ni is when they mark, like, the thing is an action that's done, like, into, like, in and at or for. So I'm guessing they're wording this way so that it can be distinguished from this. I wonder if that's why maybe I might misunderstand something here. We'll see. It's a synonym, but you can kind of express it that way. It would be a synonym, I would say, in English, I guess, for this, if you're thinking it like me. Interesting. Mas, so the polite verb ending. Auxiliary verb. Okay. What they call it, dependent or type, right? Because it's, I see. In traditional Japanese, mas is introduced as something placed on the verbs to create the polite form. While this is true, taking a bit of closer look at what mas is by itself will help us understand the concept more clearly. Yes. Mas is an auxiliary verb, which means it is a word that connects to other words, in order to change the meaning. For mas, this change occurs on verbs and creates the polite form. You use mas, attach it to the conjunctive form of the verb. Right, so we got tabemasu, right? Nemasu. Hashirimasu and tobimasu, right? Because most students are see mas so early in their learning, the conjunctive form is often simply called the mas form, or the mas stem in many resources, as it may be easier to remember what to do with the verb that way. They really do hit on all the trends and behavioral trends. Basically, mas is to verbs as des is to nouns and adjectives. They're both auxiliary verbs, and together they form the basis of polite language in Japanese. Caution: in general, des and mas will only appear at the end of sentences. However, this is not a strict rule, as they are both occasionally used because conjunction particles, such as ga, ga for but in very polite language. Oh, yeah. Right. それは私ですか? Okay. 彼は飲みますか? Oh, yeah, right. Because of conjunction particles, like but and like that type of conjunction. And then obviously it's represented by a particle in Japanese. あなたが運転します車はどれですか? Unnatural Japanese, as mas cannot be used when creating a noun phrase. Yep. 私は毎日運転します。Okay. I was hoping like they do a variant of this to show, but it's a separate statement. Fun fact: it is thought, I love these fun facts. Oh, double fun fact. Oh, we're in for a treat today. It is thought that mas originally came from... Oh, I see. Actually, I don't know. That might... Oh my gosh, that's so tiny. It's fine. To humbly do. Over time, it changed to marasu. Oh, okay. And then matsu, or matsu, and then finally mas. wish I could see. I mean, it kind of looks like I. Can I hold up? I think it's. Isn't it like the... No. Isn't it like one of the variances of... Oh boy. I'll have to look that up later. We'll come across it. Dang it. Alright. Okay. It is a humble verb meaning to come, and that is still used very frequently in modern Japanese. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's I do. Yeah, I do. You will often hear the... Hold up. Sure. Maybe it's not I do. I thought it... I remembered it as... Not I do. Oh no. Mairu. You will often hear the imperative form of mas. Imperative form, okay. Mase. In various set expressions. We'll cover this in a set lesson on mase. Like, いらっしゃいませ. Okay, yeah, we're good with that. Ru negative. Oh, we're just hopping right in. And you take the ru for godan, right? Yeah, I forgot that's what they're referring to. Godan, just night. The negative form of ru verbs are conjugated based on the same set of rules used for other forms of ru verbs. Conjugation. Removal of ru followed by the addition of something else. In the case of negation, the additional component will be nai for casual, and then masen for polite form, right?
私は肉を食べない。私は黒板が見えません。
黒板、wait. 黒板が見えません。I can't see the black word.
私は黒板が見えません。
While the common translation of nai and masen is simply not, they actually have several possible nuances. These nuances are don't, usually not, won't, intentionally not, or can't, unintentionally not. I haven't thought about it that way. Don't, won't, and can't. Yeah. And then we still got like should, would, and could. Right? It would be should, would, could instead of don't, won't, can't. Which is the shall, and I'm not quite sure what the casual ones yet are.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Unintentionally not. Let's see if I can gather that. Yeah, okay. But
私はプレゼントを開けません。
interesting. Because presento. But if you're forgetting someone's name, that's interesting. Oh, I haven't even considered that in English. Both nai and masen are auxiliary verbs. Masen is a conjugation of mas, right? Meaning that they have their own set of conjugation rules. A semi-polite form may also be used. This is constructed by using nai and then des, yeah, and then simply adding des. Des is used to mark politeness here, and nai des, right? Nai des sounds less formal and stiff than masen. Wait, nai des sounds less formal and stiff than masen. Yes, yeah. So 映画は見ないです。Right. The nai attached to make the negative form of an adjective is a different word, yes. So we gotta, and therefore follow different conjugation rules. When attached to adjective, nai itself is an e adjective and not an auxiliary verb. We're getting like really into it. Synonym janai, yeah. Antonyms. What? Oh, past versus present situation. Got all these same relatives. Oh, that's it for today's grammar lessons. Feels very short, but since we have vocabulary, good enough to fill the time. Alrighty.
見る、見ます。
Oh, I like it. They even read out the standalones. Oops. I missed the one.
聞く、聞きます。
漢字。
漢字を覚える。
覚える。母は映画を見ます。えTekken sushi. Sorry. Negative standard. Okay.
Sushiを食べない。寿司を食べないです。寿司を食べません。
Okay, so hold up. Okay, so they displayed all three, right? And is that there to tell me that I can use those others, but they're asking? So this said negative standard, right? So negative standard, I thought, oh no, because standard is not referring to the form, like casual and polite. So that means when they say standard, I'm trying to get used to what the words they're using. Like, what does it mean for standard? And now I am unsure. But these would be the three that we were given today. I mean, I'm just going to remember all three until I realize what the English words they're using for the practicality of identifying. I really enjoy learning like standardizations. Lack of a better word, standardizations. Please make sense. Okay. I want to Can I click on? No. Okay. It's fine. We'll pick it up as we go. Alright. 20 vocabulary. Oh, right. We did the next 5 because it's today's 5 technically. Because yesterday I started after midnight. So it's ticking 5 past it. Yeah. Schedules, schedules. Alright, so let's do Osada. Osada makes sense. Honorific plates. Gotta get the honorific plates in. I think we're okay. And then see also Sada. Non-honor polite expression for plate or circular object on which food is often served. Keiki. Keiki. So keiki. Keiki. Going down. Keiki. Self-explanatory. Gyunyu. Right. Gyunyu. Cow's milk in parentheses. Kamera. Kamera. Okay. Self-explanatory. Boshi. Okay. I'm not really like looking at these characters very closely. That might become a complacent. That might make me complacent a little bit. So I might want to add a routine where I'm compelling myself to look at the character. Okay. Konbini. Oh, an abbreviation for Konbini. Ensu store. Konbini store. Konbini convenience, right? Convenience store. Okay, we're just gonna stick with hoteru. Yeah, hoteru. I often thought this was hoteru, but now I hear it. So I hear it because if I say hoteru, I think of more of the verb to get hot, or to flush, or to become flush. Hoteru. It's a hoteru. 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 Right, hoteru versus hoteru. So we got densha, train, ani. Right. Tegami. I need to spend a little bit more time looking at those characters to refresh some stuff. Kuruma. A caster. Asa. Oh, asa. Asa. Asa versus asa. Dang. Asa. Morning, breakfast. Okay. Okane. Okay. tadashi. 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 I just realized that's interesting because she and she. She and she. And I realized I think I default to not using my sh and more like sh versus sh. So atadashi versus atadashi. New novel fresh, right? Isu, chair, stool, not stall, stool. A post position. Oh, that type of seat, yeah. Isu, okay. Asa. Parasol, umbrella, something shaped like an umbrella or a conical hat. Shade of a lamp. Oh, a mushroom cap. I don't know what a Pilius is. Wait. Pilius? Oh. Interesting. Okay. Namae. Name, given name, first name. Oh, we just got this, right? Yeah. Seito. Eh? That's an interesting breakup. Let me think about this for a moment. Yeah, so this part, se, and then the to. Checks out. Yeah. Seito. Alright, oto-san. Oto-san. I'm definitely looking at this through the lens of character analyses. So in Bunpro, right, like if someone was using Bunpro and that's their primary thing, I'm doing like there are some Duolingoing here, like part of my Duolingo workflow. I'm not saying like it's attached to Duolingo, but the workflow parts that I use for Duolingo, like looking at the noun descriptions and the relationship between all the all the definitions, and then looking at the forms, and then the thing that they don't have here, which is kind of a missed opportunity, is antonyms and synonyms, which I'm probably gonna add notes. I wonder how add notes work. Oh, it's over here. Okay, so it's just gonna add it. What happens when I say something like, oh no, oh, can I? Oh, it's on top. Okay. So in the future, I'm probably going to add notes from the grouping exercises. So they're not focused on grouping exercises when it comes to vocabulary. Basically, Otol-san would be next to Oka-san. Right? They do it for grammar though. Where like related things, there would be like a field down here, related antonyms, synonyms, but they don't do it for vocabulary, which I don't know if that was their primary thing to do in the first place. But that's quote unquote the Duolingo carry that I typically do, which is there would be a separate box that would include other things. Like I would add a note, chichi, right? I don't know if I can. No, I would have to impart my own. So it would be like So, right. I would write something like this. And I wouldn't write the kanji because the kanji is up here. So for Duolingo, take it for what you will. The way I remember how to take in Duolingo's exercises is that they typically value the idea of a character and all of its representations, right, in kana. So if there's an otosan, it would be an example for chichi, right? And characters that look like this. So then there's also antonyms and synonyms, whether they're natural or unnatural, that's perfectly fine. That's something you negotiate later when you consume native content, right? However, this is how that's one of the workflows that enriches my understanding of otosan, right? Chichi is one of them. And then knowing that it's related to, right? You would put in oka, right? Oops. So I need a workflow for this, right? So then I would put this as a second note, oka-san, right? And then I would also place haha, right? Haha. As a way to bolster relations. But they're more grammar first. So Bunpro is more grammar first, and they have like separate sections where things are grouped and related. So this would be like aka the Duolingo thing. And then the thing that I'm doing now when I'm looking at this is I'm doing the wanikani thing, where when I'm looking at this, I'm reading the significance of the character as not just father, dad, papa, pop. So the contrast here is that eventually I'm going to do all of this at once because it's all the things that I have learned up to this point. When you're using Bunpro for the first time, the thing you'll probably try to remember is you see this and it's like everything. Maybe when you're learning kana, you can see this as 2-3 separate things, and then this is all you get. But what I'm also seeing here is the characteristics of this character itself. So there's a lot of baggage here. There's more than this. There are fins, right? There's this. These are 2 elements. So this character has 2 elements, right? And then on the other side, it has antonyms and synonyms. And on the other side, there's also usage rules. Or like usage nuances as well. The difference between like using chichi or otosan or I don't know, maybe ryoshin, right? Goryoshin and stuff. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm seeing how much time I have to do all of that. I would probably not do it all the time, but do it enough to keep up with all of the knowledge or all of the like fun ways or different ways to remember these things. The reason why I bring up Duolingo quite a lot is because if you start with Bunpro, this, in my opinion, feels like Duolingo, where you see the character and your first goal is to memorize what its primary definition is. And then maybe you'll hear this,
お父さん
otosan, and it would be another factor. So this is like, you have 2-3 things here that you'll remember, maybe, right? Maybe, and they're memorizations. And then when you memorize them, you're hoping that these 2 things become connected. And then you're hoping this connects to this. But that doesn't necessarily, this is not the same as understanding it, right? It's only when you use it and when you complete the process, you know, you see it in the wild, you see it in context. Are you imagining a person's face, like that type of thing, a scenario? That's when the understanding comes up. So memorization is like part of understanding, but it's not sufficient for understanding. And that's kind of how I feel when someone says, oh yeah, you know, I didn't learn anything from Duolingo. And then because Bunpro is so good, right? Bunpro, so I've heard this multiple times, so let's try to be fair about it. Duolingo came first. Then Bunpro came second. So when I try to think about it, for me, Duolingo came first as well. So I carry a lot of things from Duolingo into this. Now, the other person could pretend, in my opinion, pretend like that first experience had nothing to do with the second experience. I think even someone who's completely ignorant about their faculties and their cautious thoughts it would be hard to rationalize that their first experience happened. Now, if I were to start with Bunpro, that's what I'm talking about now. I'm trying to imagine myself, what would happen when I read this for the first time? So now we reverse the order. It would still feel the same. You have this blanketed information, you have this, and then they'll quiz you. And the quiz would be these sentences, right? And then that's where some criticisms come with Duolingo. It's like, oh, but the sentences are not that great. They're like really simple sentences, and they don't go right into the sentence, because you can still learn the target word without knowing anything else. So that's where it gets really interesting, because Duolingo, what they do is they have to build up to those sentences. So it takes a really long time to get to these sentences. However, Bunpro have decided to go straight into it, right? Like exchanging between da, des, ga, and all of these, but you don't technically need to know these things in order to know the target. And that's what people call as immersive, like more immersion. So you are learning things despite not knowing other things, guided, right? And then the higher the stuff around you that is helping you, but you really don't know what they are, the higher people would say it's immersion. So when you're watching anime, there's a lot going on, and you're trying to focus on trying to learn something from them. And the higher it is, the more immersed, quote unquote, that's how people view as the more immersive it is. So in the other way, what's considered artificial? So we have like immersive versus artificial, right, on each end. The closer you get to artificial is when it becomes abstract. So like, one could even argue, if you're a biologist, then artificial would be physics. Right. The more broken down it is, in which you have to build up to a more emergent natural state, is how the opinions are about these things. But when I think about why is this important, I do not see the difference. I personally, when it comes to learning, not the content. So immersion, when people have an argument about what's unnatural and what's natural, and they talk about what's artificial, synthetic, AI, it doesn't give you the whole picture, versus it gives you the whole picture, but you don't understand the parts, right? Pros and cons, right? If you have these things, if you have immerse, then details are lost. And what I mean by details, they are difficult. Details like nuance is difficult. are difficult to detect because you're trying to start off. You're looking at the bigger picture. But when you get to artificial, the idea of artificial fundamental parts like grammar, right? Grammar, vocabulary, like the little parts, the nuances can be appreciated because you're worried about the little details. Now it's a trade-off, right? Because if you're constantly worried about the nuances, then you lose the bigger picture. You have to construct the bigger picture. So when you're constructing, you can lose translation to the natural thing because natural things are emergent. And then when you're taking emergent, you rarely able to talk and break things down. And when you're breaking things down, you need to explain that to people. So if you're constantly immersing and not seeing the nuances of the difference, it can be very difficult to teach the things, right? That's the native, this is called, to me, it's a native speaker fallacy. Where if you have someone who's always constitutively immersed in the emergent level, being able to teach and instruct would be very difficult, or like it would be overlooked. It's not that they can't do it, it would typically be overlooked out of practice, because a biologist, despite knowing a lot about biology, can't explain physics. They would have to learn about physics because physics is at a different level. So whenever people argue like immersive and artificial, artificial typically refers to smaller parts and the details, and immersive means bigger picture and general gist, oftentimes. And these are referring to the content. Now that's referring to the content. When I think about learning, the process of learning is content independent. It's independent, oftentimes, of the nature of the content. If you see this and you accept it as the natural level of emergence, then it itself is natural learning. It's natural in its learning process. Like if you are used to looking at a word and seeing it as a unit of a meaning, it is the natural state of how you learn this information. Whether the information itself is presented as natural or native is dealing with the content. And I think this dialogue is very important to distinguish, because when I see this, if you need to remember this information, thinking that it's unnatural, when someone says this is unnatural, how you can remember this character, like it's an unnatural way, it can lead to I don't know, it doesn't tell you certain things, it's artificial, right? To me, that's confusing two things. To do this way, to remember this information, oftentimes when people say it's unnatural, it's because it's unnatural for them to learn this way. Not that the content is unnatural, but it's often confused with that. At least it's like generalized to be like that. Like this can be a natural way to learn the relationship between two things. Otherwise, this person who's saying unnatural and artificial, man, I'm curious how they do in physics and mathematics, right? When they want to be a biologist. Like, if it doesn't match this person's level of abstraction or connections, then most of it is unnatural. So whenever I think about this, if you think it's unnatural, and it's because it sucks, right? Like it sucks, it's hard to remember. I often wonder, and I'm not sure of the truth or not, I often wonder, is it because the learning is unnatural? Or really is driven by the actual content? Because for me, I'm a bit biased. My bias is when someone says something doesn't work because the content is unnatural. I disagree. I think that it's hard for them to learn this content like as is, because there's a right answer to this. This is what you're trying to remember and learn, not whatever the nature of the content is. If you can't remember this, it has nothing to do with whether it is going to be an anime or a manga. Like, this is what you're responsible for, right? You don't have to remember the other stuff, like the anime contexts or the other things. And what they're referring to is not necessarily, they keep focusing on the idea that it's the content's fault. The content is what is supposed to be the thing that helps them learn, right? To me, it's because their learning strategies are poor. As in, they're not deficient, as in it's not like they're unable to do it. It's they haven't done it before, or they haven't done it in a way that meets the requirements of these things. That's my personal take on things. This is the third thing that I've done now. So now we're at 3, right? And I've been having these thoughts when it's going to be even more complicated when it turns into 10. Like in another year or two, I probably will have done something like this in 10 different ways. And my first thought is, if this was the first time I'm using Bunpro, it's no different from Duolingo. Like they're very synonymous. The idea, the reason why I'm saying that is I'm talking about the learning process, not the content. The content is different, for sure. Like this content, it's being represented, all this content is being represented in a different way, and it's supposed to elicit your learning skills. Whatever learning skills you have. So when someone says immersion is better, right? Immersion is better. They're looking for something that elicits their existing learning skills. So if you're saying, oh, I like reading, you've heard this dialogue before. Oh, I love reading stories more to learn words. Yeah, it's because your learning skills that you've curated and practiced deals with reading stories and stuff. When you go to this and you're like, oh yeah, it's just like disjointed ideas and I can't possibly remember this with that. It's like, well, that's fair because you're looking, you don't have the skills for that yet, or you haven't practiced those skills anymore. And I say that because in contrast, as a personal share, this is how I learned English early in my life. When someone said, oh, you learn like kids. How do kids learn their language? And so they're often say like, oh, well, they're around their parents and their family and their friends, and they had to use the language, and most of that came from that. And I'm like, yes and no. I mean, I didn't speak very much, nor did I communicate with people very much. When I was younger, I read vocabulary words and read example sentences. And then what did I do? I translated them in my head in a different way because I had to speak 2 languages when I was younger. So I was using my English constantly to learn how to express something to my parents, right? And while I was doing that, I had to bolster my English. So I looked at English as separate units and separate things in which I can ask and translate into the existing language. So one of the major methods of learning that I had was actually this, looking at disjointed things. Some people will see this as disjointed things, like, oh man, there's so much in between here. Like, how can you remember father to be Otosan? Like, well, it's a way of thinking. Like, for example, when you think of an atom, do you see it as an atom, or do you see it as a collection of subatomic particles? Right, we'll just go with like protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? Because if you spend all your time looking at protons, neutrons, and electrons, then sometimes you might you look less at the bigger picture, the atom, right? Or you could be a cell biologist versus a molecular biologist. You spend so long looking at the details and nuances of the molecular biologist, you might lose the emergent property of cell biology, like the bigger thing. Like, the cell is so complicated to me. When you're trying to apply molecular principles to a singular cell, you can have a lifetime of things to explore. This is very similar to the idea of always native content immersion versus understanding grammar, right? Grammar, antonyms, homophone, homonyms, kanji, pictorial representations. That's what I mean by that. And it's not a competition. Usually the answer is both, or everywhere in between if you have time, because it forms connections. It gives you more tools. So now this is the third time I've done this. Wanikani, I said the same thing about Wanikani as well in the beginning. So I'm kind of having like a deja vu moment about my early days of Wanikani, which was around this time. Like the first 4 days, I would be on day 4 of Wanikani last year. And then the year before that, I would be day 4 of Duolingo Japanese. So these are all 1 year periods. And I largely similarly had the same impression. The idea is learning is a process, and it involves your existing learning skills that you practice. I think there is an incredibly unnecessary, it can be useful, it can be sufficient, but I don't think it's like there's an over hyper focus on content. Content is not the same as learning. It can definitely influence your learning skills and elicit your skills intuitively, right? But that component, that discipline, is learning, not consuming. When you're consuming content, you can consume content without learning, or with minimal learning. How do you do that? How do you consume content with minimal learning? Doom scroll. Just doom scroll for a bit. When you doom scroll for a bit, you'll understand. You can totally consume. You can totally consume things with minimal learning. You can rely on your intuition so much that even your intuition doesn't do much learning at all. So it's interesting because I have a hot take for this. There is a really interesting relationship with doing something difficult, i.e. something difficult, and one of the examples is something unnatural to you. That can actually, there's a relationship in which oftentimes that increases engagement and learning when you're doing something outside of your habits. And when it's outside of your habits, they tend to be perceived as difficult. Now, this is assuming you have enough motivation, like currencies, right? You have enough currencies, which is motivation, time, right? Other feelings. When you have in this sufficient currency, when you engage in something unnatural, it often is associated with increased learning. So if you haven't ever spoken for a while, like you've been learning Japanese for 3 years and the last thing you did was like, oh yeah, I haven't ever orally spoken something, that means you also have to acquire the skills to do that, right? And when you engage in that, it is going to be difficult. It's gonna feel unnatural despite you're trying to sound natural, right? Because it's content independent. But with your motivation and time, you can turn that into engagement and learning. So I focus on trying to do all of it, right? The idea is, why not stick to the same method again? Why not stick to doing the best way? And my thought is, it's a balancing act. If you stick to one method, then your learning is capped, not the content. The content's not going to be capped. Your learning might be capped. If it's good enough, then you're happy, right? If you do the best method and it gets you to your goal, then you're happy. For me, if it gets to my goal and I was doing one thing, boy, I didn't really use my time, at least in my opinion, I didn't use my time for the thing I care about. And the thing that I care about is having these digressions and internal monologues with myself. Like Bunpro is specifically causing me right now to think of things in a certain way. And then I can totally see where my duo and my wanikani experience is filtering into here. And my first thought is, whenever I have these thoughts, I know, in my opinion, a good majority of kiddos would have compartmentalized this. So this is my major focus right now on how to explain compartmentalized learning. Compartmentalized learning is not immersive learning. It is what you do is, I would say 80% of younger kids on the internet, like high school to university, what they do is they compartmentalize the app or the environment. So basically, this is the only way they will learn on Bunpro. And then when they go to read on, like, I don't know, Satori Reader, they will only learn the way Satori Reader is offering. So, and then if they ever have to go out of their way to, like, bring in Bunpro, for example, try to bring in Bunpro and integrate them, it will be seen as difficult, wasteful, exhausting, and not efficient. At first, and this is when I mean 80%, I'm talking about inexperienced individuals. The other side is, once you get past, I'm there, you get to that intermediate hump, right? You go over the intermediate hump, then you become advanced. Then the conversation is different. Most people, naturally, in my opinion, will tell you, oh, it's about all of it. It's about doing all of it. Like, you can, as the more ways you're engaging and learning in the content itself, the content is not going to go anywhere. The content is evolving far shorter than your ability to interact with the content. So now what they say is, oh, you do a little of this for this type of learning, you do a little of this for this type of learning, and you do a little of this for this type of learning. Make sure it's not redundant, because doing 10 of the same types of encoding And recall is going to be redundant. And we're talking about learning redundancies. Not content redundancies. I have to emphasize this in my opinion, every time I start a new thing, like a new learning thing, someone would immediately tell me, so where are you gonna start? I'm like, I'm gonna start from the beginning. Like, but you already know all that stuff. It's like, yeah, it's content redundancy. Like, but then what's the point if you already know the content? Like, I'm trying to work on testing how I can learn different things. Like, you can learn the same thing different ways. What is that like? Cooking, sports, artwork. The content itself, like if you draw a person, for example, how do you draw a person? I would imagine that, at least in my opinion, a person who is well versed in drawing, as in they are incredibly experienced artists, they would sit back and pause for a moment and think, okay, I'm just gonna decide one of the 300 ways of doing this, and then try to like culminate as many parts of my experience together. A person who compartmentalize and always focus on content redundancy, they would say something like, oh, you know, it would be this particular face that I draw, and then all of my other characters will have this exact same face, and I would draw it exactly the same way because I'm content dependent. And that's kind of how I feel about people, at least right now, the vast majority of people's approach to learning a language. I'm like, don't you want to be able to like learn Japanese in no matter what you're doing? Like, what I mean is, right this moment when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm working on how to look at different ways to encourage myself to constantly look at Japanese, even if English is present or not, or even Chinese is present. The goal is that you're using the skills that you're constantly going to reinforce your Japanese. You're not sitting there waiting for the app or like the perfect environment that you've compartmentalized in the corner to have an excuse to use your Japanese or look at things in a Japanese way. Like, those are not the skills that you retain. Those are not the skills that you retain, nor are without those skills you are able to encourage yourself to engage in a content, right? Like, for example, getting someone to actively sentence mine in anime is a very difficult task, largely because they have to develop the skill to do that. And then in order to maintain that, they would have to have developed that skill to a point in which they do it as a form of a lifestyle. Like, they would do it as a skill that they have as part of their regular routine, right? And the more of these options you have, the more likely any one time you're doing something, it'll elicit a chance to use it. It's not the same as someone would say, oh yeah, the best way is to always listen to native speakers. Okay. And what skills is involved in always listening to native speakers in Japanese? The first thing someone would say is, oh yeah, moving to Japan would be something. It's like, that's not a skill. That's a content. That's an environment. Okay. So you move to Japan. What are the skills involved in always encouraging yourself to learn Japanese and use it? Like, oh, you know, I'll just be obligated to do so. It's like, I hope that works out. I mean, that's minimally what could help. That just sounds like someone who doesn't in my opinion, doesn't prioritize how to learn things. They obligate themselves based on content. And content is situational. It's conditional. So whenever someone says, oh, I haven't learned to speak Japanese because I don't have anyone to speak Japanese to. Like, okay. So can you practice the skill of speaking Japanese? Not the content of speaking to someone who's providing content for you. So then you can be encouraged to do those skills. Right? If someone like forced you to speak Japanese, like they can only speak Japanese, then it is dependent on that person to force you to speak Japanese. So you are not interested in that skill to the point where you're trying to do it. So that's kind of like artificial, right? Artificial versus native. Whenever something you come up with that is working towards something, then it will likely seem like an artificial environment because you're constructing up to something that you have visualized in your head. The vast majority, in my opinion, of people learn this way. They take the native thing, and when they need to, they break it down. But they only go as deep as they need to stay engaged. So whenever I talk to people about, oh yeah, they know a lot about Japanese or a lot about language learning, and my only thought is they stop like right here. They're like, oh, okay, well, I listened to this vlog. Oh, I really like the way this guy sounds. Like this dictionary, it has like everything because it's made by Japanese people. I was like, okay. So like, to me, like nothing about language learning. In my opinion, I maybe nothing is a little strong, but what I mean by that is this person is not interested in language learning. They're interested in being native Japanese, like sounding native. They're interested, like, that's great. I mean, that's impressive. But when someone is trying to explain to me something, you're gonna become more and more artificial, because if I speak English and you only want to be a native Japanese speaker, how are you going to explain to me what you're doing? By saying, oh yeah, you always do this. I'm like, but I don't always do this. I do something else right now. So there is a pros and cons situation to going in both directions, which doesn't happen. The vast majority does the internet thing where you take the example and then try to deconstruct it. And in the process of deconstructing, rarely does it get deep enough in which they can reproduce it, like reconstruct it, and then put it in their image. So, right, you take the idea of success. This is the internet, in my opinion, what the internet does. You take the idea of success, you break it down just enough, and it ends there. That's as much learning and comprehension, in my opinion. Most of the time, it's not really even that. What they do is you take the idea of success, you have someone explain it to you. So it's a lateral movement. They try to explain it to you, and the explaining is slightly lower, but it's from the perspective of someone who already has success, right? And then expect that this is sufficient in understanding the details of comprehension, of learning. And for others who try to explore just enough, that's as deep as they go. So when they go back to constructing it, they fall short. They often fall short. Like, their ideal success then changes, right? And here's the kicker. This is important. It's different because when you're breaking something down and then you're trying to rebuild it up again, that's a different set of skills. It's a really different set of skills. Like, for example, constructing a novel sentence. And what I mean by a novel sentence, and maybe not novel, like an original sentence. I was doing this exercise with someone recently, and I decided, okay, well, it's been a while, so maybe I'll ask questions in Japanese. And then I asked that person to respond in Japanese. And I think the whole time that person kept telling me they know what they're asking, like what I'm asking, but their response does not elicit all of the components and the comprehension that they have, the parts that they have. They have all the parts, but rarely can produce the idea of it. And that's kind of like one of the whole input versus output thing. So, anyways, more on that later. I also have that deficiency right now because I understand that I don't do that at the moment. Like when someone asks me a question in Japanese, I'm not saying, oh, I know. I'm more like reading, oh, I understand what that question is asking. And that, like, I'm not taking the parts that I have and I'm constructing a response to it. Right? And how people, in my opinion, respond is idea of success is comprehending, right? It's comprehending whatever it is. So when someone asks you a question, oh, I know what the question is. Right? It's like, wait, now I need to answer that question. Oh no. So then you go scavenging for your parts, like A plus B plus C plus D. And what you're going to do is you're looking for the A that is exactly the response to idea of success. So when someone says like, "O genki desu ka?" And then immediately it's like, "Oh, I know exactly what they're asking me." And then you sit there and you think, "Wait, what is the perfect response to that?" And it doesn't come to you. That's kind of how I feel when you only think of it in one direction, right? If that, luckily for like, "Oh, genki desu ka?" You could just say genki, right? Because genki is already in the phrase, but that's not typically how people ask and respond in lead conversations. Like when someone asks, how was your day? And you just say, it's good. Like, okay, I guess that's a perfect response. It's a shame that it's devoid of any nuance of what you're trying to express. And that comes with English too. I don't think it's Japanese only. In fact, I actually kind of think that the way people speak English online is how they're learning other languages as well. So they hope that other languages would be more receptive based on its content than the act of understanding what the skill of communication involves, right? It involves active learning in various ways. Otherwise, you won't have enough experience to form this. So, long digression back, right? Because we're about to end our thing. We just got to do our reviews. But, long story short, why would I add notes that recruit other things? Is because I'm creating them. I'm creating the connections. If you're not creating the connections, then you're compartmentalizing. And when you're compartmentalizing, it can take you a very long time to get the connections when it is tested. Like, if I say, if I say Oto-san, are you gonna sit there and form the connections for the first time? Or are you learning to form those connections before you test them? Right? Like, I think oftentimes when someone is learning a target language, they are trying to understand the question at the time they already need to understand the question. Versus, oh, okay, they just asked, all right, let's spend more time forming my response to the question that you've heard billions and billions of times already. But instead it stops there most of the time. They're like, oh yeah, I can translate this, or I can tell you the nuances of the question. It's like, yeah, but you didn't answer the question. Like, you're answering the question. You're building something. You need to build now. And that's usually where the artificial part comes in. Like, you see a building, can you deconstruct the building? A drawing is a great example. Like, right? This is a house for a lot of people, right? Well, you can still draw more things in the house. You can draw some windows. You can draw a door. You can add some those like ceiling tiles. It's starting to look more like a cottage, right? You can add a chimney. Let's put some smoke up here, right? Then we can add some fencing. Looks more like tall grass right now, right? Then we can do a path, right? Add some grass, right? Maybe some classic clouds. Right? So, gotta construct them. Anyways. Alright. Sorry for the digression. Alright. So we got toke. Yeah, toke or clock. And then we have like ude toke, which is wristwatch. Alright, let's review. What? We have detected you are potentially using... Oh. Oh, they can detect that. Nice.
これは私のお皿です。
今日はケーキを食べる。
牛乳を飲みたいです。
このカメラはとても高い。
Expensive.
この帽子はいくら？
How much is this? Huh?
コンビニに行く。
このホテルは新しいです。
私の弟は電車が好きだ。
私は竹雄の兄です。
これは母からの手紙。鏡。あ、wait, letter? Oh, wait.
これは母からの手紙です。
手紙です。Got a letter from mother.
あなたは車を持っていますか？
朝に散歩をする。
何をする？What happened? 私はお金が欲しいです。Okay. Desire money.
この家は新しいです。
この椅子は新しいです。
傘を閉じる。
あなたの名前は？
あなたの名前はdifferent, right?
私はこの学校の生徒です。
Oh, that's... Yeah, oh, no, no. Oh, they don't accept the alternative. Okay.
彼は健太さんのお父さんだ。
この時計は彼のものです。
I didn't know. All right. Pretty good. Got more points. All right, and then we got to do our reviews, right? Our 45 reviews. Is grammar on a different track? Interesting. That means like this is only the grammar from yesterday, probably, and not the grammar from the day before, because we don't have 50-50. Oh yeah, that extends out. Okay. Yeah, we'll do our reviews. Okay.
親が子供に、どの先生がお気に入りなの？
お気に入りなのね？
今週の火曜日は何をするの？
面白い。No, おいしい。No, 面白い。おいしいね。
美味しいね。
おいしいね。Okay.
明日一緒に花火大会に行きませんか？
花火大会。Oh, well? これはとても well です。
彼はとても元気です。
well これはとても元気です。今雨？
今雨が降っています。
雨が。I went the other way in the pitch accent. 雨。雨。あなたはいつもいつ
あなたはいつもいつお風呂に入りますか？
お風呂に入りますか？
彼女はどんな仕事をしていますか？
どんな仕事をしていますか？ What kind of job does she work? Right, or which what?
娘が母に、私は来月にお母さんになるよ。
これはあなたの本です。本ですか？
これはあなたの本ですか？
Interrogative article, right?
父が子供に、今は忙しいので後で遊びましょう。
あと遊びましょう。
私は海で読書をするのが大好きです。
読書をするのか。Reader. To read by like the sea, the ocean.
このノートは学校で使うものです。
あの病院の定休日は金曜日だ。
定休日。Interesting.
学校で風邪が流行っています。
流行っています。Okay. 晩になると、晩になると寒くなる。Oh, right, that, yes. Okay.
彼は私の仕事のパートナーです。
仕事のパートナーです。うん。
父、このレストランの料理は高すぎる。他のところに行きましょう。
Okay.
この服は高いです。
Naturally.
このエアコンはとても高かった。
うん。
教授、来週の月曜日までに課題を提出してください。
Right. Oh no, 硬い。Wait, yeah, 硬い。
私がこのパンを作りました。
綺麗な女の人。
写真を見ながら、ね、これは私の父です。
写真を見ながら、これは私の父です。
うん、今日の夕飯 Interesting。今日の夕飯は何ですか？
あなたは寿司が好きですか？
好きですか？
父が娘に、一緒に犬の散歩に行きませんか？
Good phrase。
母、それは何息子？ハンドスピナーだよ。
Oh, they didn't pause. はい、母。それは何？息子。Right. ハンドス。What the? ハンドスいなんだよ。ハンドいな。What does that mean? Hand spinner? Oh boy. Spina. And hand spinner? I mean, it does sound like that now, but I guess like a fidget spinner or something.
彼女は何をしていますか？
母親、夜は暗いから一人で外に行かないでください。
うん。
そのパソコンは便利ですか？
It's man, it's so pretty obvious that Like listening to it is faster than reading it. Dang.
看板にこの公園ではボール遊びをするなと書いてある。
Interrogative article? What are they? I don't know. Interrogative article. Interrogative article. Like,
何がいい？
interrogative particle. 何がいい? Okay. But I don't quite remember when did they refer to this as an interrogative particle again. Okay. All right. Oh, is this combining both of them? Oh, I just realized they're combined.
このビルは古いですか？
Oh no.
このカレンダーは端っこが破けています。
I often type karan instead of karen for the
彼女は世界で有名ですか？
自分の部屋が
自分の部屋が汚いので、明日の午前中に掃除をするつもりだ。
うん。掃除をする森だ。森。Oh, emphatic. We gotta do the emphatic stuff.
私は背が高いよ。
より低い。Oops. Wait. Your answer? Wait, sorry. Oh.
今より広い玄関がある家に引っ越しをしたいです。
星したいです。Right. 星。Harrison.
あの丸いものは何ですか？
このカバンはかわいいですか？
僕は明日クリスさん。
僕は明日クリスさんと東京へ行きます。
東京へ行き。父が子供に
父が子供に広い場所でラジコンで遊んでもいいよ。
ガチコン Gajikon. All I can think about is having something to do with, oh, a radio controlled. Gajikon. Interesting. Oh, okay. I see. I see how that works. Like radio and con. Okay.
日本人の友達を作りたいです。
僕にはこの heck. Oh no. Kabam. I typically only see kabam written in kana. Kabam wa iru? Janai. Eh? Oh no, wait. Different. Oh no. I thought it was. Oh, all I think about is neat. I can only think about. Oh no. I mean, all I can think of.
僕にはこのカバンは必要じゃない。
I don't need. Oh, I know what I'm getting it confused. That's fine. Not in the sense of to need, but the idea of needed things. Okay, I guess that makes up for that little bleep right there. Let's hang on. Let's look at this. So now we have 30. Okay, so tomorrow we have 80. So it looks like the vocabulary. No. There's 20 grammar. Okay. Interesting. We have 4, right? 4 times. So this is the full day. -1. Okay, I see. All right. What are our points at? I gotta look at points. We're over 1,000. So the question is, do we buy new accent? Quiz theme. What does quiz themes mean? Oh. 10,000. All right, we're just gonna have to wait. But you can cram for points. I took a look at how practice works. It's kind of neat that they have JLPT practice tests and reading practices. What does reading practice do? Interesting. Below you will find graded reading practice that are divided by, oh, if you're learning via the default Bunpro grammar deck, only grammar taught in each of their respective lessons will show up on each page. This ensures that whether you're doing beginner or high level practice, you'll never encounter items that you have not learned yet. Intriguing. Yeah, and then I looked at grammar, like cram, which you can like extract the different lessons and stuff into a separate deck. That's really wonderful. And then they have like practice exams, just probably one of each for vocab, grammar, reading, and lessons, which is fantastic. Extra stuff, you know, extra stuff. And we can go straight. Oh, we can go straight to content practice. I kind of want to see what this is today. Have fun while learning to read and write in Japanese. Gokana is a flashcard arcade. All right, let's just try this first. How loud is this going to be? Diacritics? Digraphs? Oh, is that what they're called? Interesting. I guess we just... Oh! Ah. Oops. Oops. Oh, it auto enters. Okay. Oh, there's some ah, there's no delete. Oops. What? How do I Oh. That was... Oh my gosh. Please. Oh, okay. There's... There's some lag time. Oops. The heck is... How do you... Oh my gosh, it's D. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Maybe it's... Oops. I almost typed kuchi. Oh. Uh. Uh-oh. Represent this? Why can't I?
お
Oh.
もうどほ
Oops. Ah.
そえ
Oops.
つてのいちゃるぐちょふじゃ
That's interesting that I registered as incorrect while I was typing it. How do you...
じょ
Oh, D.
ぶみゅ
Ah!
たひ
The panic.
ぬだひゃへよ じゅにびゃりょゆぱ じゃ
Oh, it shook. Ah, that's
Ye-
interesting.
じょ
Oops.
びかぞが
I don't think I've ever seen a zo yet in katakana. Like,
や
in like a
く
use case.
らりゅどじゅ
So the compound words are compound sounds sometimes register as
Yo.
incorrect as it's going.
じょぎひゃ
Almost there. It's almost there.
ぺきゃちやずねぺごめ
Oops.
ひょみょばしぐみゃ じょうすぎそおみょしょ
Ah. Ah. Ah.
じゅぼゆびゃやほ
Oops.
みゃ
Ah. Ah. You have to backspace.
ぴょふじゅ
There are a lot more than I thought.
じむ
Oops.
みこ
Oh. I don't... Wait. How do you...
ず
Okay.
たざねてで
How do you do...
じゃしゃ
Oops.
じゅりゃぴょに
Oops.
ろぜきゅまへ
Okay.
もなしゃれおじかりょばぜざびょとだ
Oh, it's getting faster. Oh, did they load all the things on top of each other? So they just stack the whole thing? So it gets faster when the
つ
stack lowers? Because now now it's loading properly.
ちょ
That's kind of funny. As the stack gets lower.
むびりこにゃにゅにょみゅれひょ
Somehow that makes me feel a lot more
きゅ
secure.
ちゃほさ
My
す
frames are back.
せく
Oops.
びゅ
Ah!
げ
Oh, hey, there's a leaderboard on here. Like a fake leaderboard? Wait. Leaderboards are reset monthly. 34 seconds. Dang, 100%. Crazy. Oh, for monograph. I see. Oh, when they're all together. Okay, so here's when they're all together. Kylie. Dude, Kylie is really into this. And then when we combine all of them, oh, 3 minutes. Whoa. Woof. I can barely get, oh man. All right. Well, that was pleasant. Now, how do I... There we go. Well, that was pleasant. We could do that for fun as well. All right. I definitely know where the common ones and the uncommon ones that I have. All right. There we have it. We did something else that's on here. I'm gonna try this stuff late on the other days to come. Other days to come. I wonder what bookmark. Interesting. Okay. Oh no. Don't click on Dex. It takes us to a different place. Alright folks. Well, it's fun going over all the kind of stuff again. Alright folks. That's a wrap for my Bunpro session. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. As always, feel free to follow along. Pick up Bunpro for yourself. There's like a month and a half trial, right? give it a try. Let me know what you think. You're more than welcome to come on by and talk about stuff. I yapped a little today about encouraging people to engage in, I don't know, different ways, whether they are considered natural or unnatural, or artificial or not. The idea is learning is incredibly multifaceted, and being able to tackle just enough difficulty, which tends to feel unnatural and artificial, right? Like that's kind of, we're talking about learning itself. That's natural and unnatural and difficult, not the content. You can argue about content all you want, like whether it's reflective, traditional, or all that. Those are the things I am not referring to. More talking about the process, how much process or different types of engagements or types of learning you engage, you have accumulated over the years. So that's trying to encourage each other. And as always, feel free, stop on by, share some stories, discuss some anecdotes, trying to be mutually interested in the process of one's learning abilities in one's life, and mutually, maybe perhaps having a mutual interest in others can lead to problem solving and critical thinking skills, emergent level discussions, right? So until next time, 皆さんまたね。見てくれてありがとう。Right? See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna get up, stretch, walk around, and I will be back for my Hanzi Hero session. Thank you, thank you.